Well, they do say that home is where the heart is, as we're now into the second half of the 2025 BNL Karting Series season, back once again at the home of champions for round 3 out of 4. And, well, it's myself, Alex Goldschmidt, back in the booth. I have to say, firstly, a big thank you to my good friend Dan Pebbles for holding the fort at Karting Defan, where we saw fantastic racing back in just a few weeks ago in the Corvin region in southern Belgium, not too far off of the French border. But the circuit we're back at again is going to be hosting 3 of the 4 rounds. Our last round will be in the 27th and the 29th of September this year, as our road to Bahrain to the 2025 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals continues. But let's give you a bit more of an overview of the circuit here at the home of champions. 1,360 metres has been in operation for 4 decades, now into decade number 5. A combination of fast straights, flowing corners and technicality. You've got to be able to do everything you can around this fantastic circuit, and it is going to be a very, very hot weekend. And I'm not just talking about the temperature out on track. Last time out at Marienburg, photo finishes right down to the wire across the line. Great overtaking, and what's more, championship still very much up in the air at this point of the 2025 season. The circuit here at Genk in the Limburg region, not too far off of the Dutch and German borders, runs in a clockwise direction. Measures 1.36 kilometres in total. And what's more, the drivers will have to circumnavigate around respective corners as you see on your screens at home. 13 in total. We are only broadcasting on the YouTube channel as due to some issues that we've been having, but it has resolved the problem. But we have wonderful sunshine, temperatures set to hit north of 30 degrees Celsius here. It is going to be very much the case of over 31 degrees both today and tomorrow here at Genk. And good to see people already getting involved in the YouTube chat. So if you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe. And whilst you're at it, follow us on the respective social media channels. For those watching on the YouTube stream, the live timing link is in the description. We are going to be running all the way through the day until about 4:45. It's a very, very hot weekend here in the tail end of June. So, to start things off, up next, it's our first qualifying heat for Junior Max. 46 competitors, of which are here this weekend. One noticeable absentee not here. Jacob Ashcroft, the points leader, a multi-time BNL Karting Series champion in his own right, which means we will have a development in terms of the pecking order come the end of tomorrow's action here at Limburg. So it will be qualifying heat groups B versus C, and the first race will be over, well, each of the qualifying heats will take place over 7 minutes plus an additional lap for all our qualifying heats today. So we are going to have respectively 3 qualifying heats for both junior and senior. So 3 groups in total, groups A, B and C. And then after that, we will have the final intermediate classification after the pre-finals. The pre-finals and the final 2 heats will take place after the lunch break, as the clear the grid sign is being shown to the dummy grid. And there, just in front and centre of your screens, the man from Northern Ireland, Rory Armstrong, a man who has qualified through the BNL Karting Series through Minimax. Funnily enough, that was the year he went on to win the Minimax Grand Finals crown in Bahrain, where the Grand Finals will be hosted once again this year for the 3rd time in 5 years. There's also Alex Goodson, very good run in qualifying for the 226 for Dan Holland Racing, but there is also a young hotshot from Bouvin Power, the 296 of Bran van der Weken. Good to welcome Joost Mulder, a man who is also representing the Netherlands in the FIA Academy Trophy this year. also is a Benelux karting champion in his own right as a junior. So we're going to have a very, very fast-paced race weekend. Natasha Vance saying, good luck, Rory Armstrong. Good to see Lucas Sells in the chat saying, allez, Nono, tu es le boss. So go on, Nono, you're the boss. That is really, really good to see that people are tuning in. We have got great representation as far as the UAE. We've even got Japanese drivers here in Belgium as well, as the green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid, releasing a cornucopia, a smorgasbord of junior Rotax drivers. Let's take you through the grid for qualifying heat B versus C for junior Rotax. It's Rory Armstrong on pole position. Bran van der Weyken will be alongside on the front row of the grid. Guus Mulder and Alex Goodson, row 2. Row 3. And here you see the top 3 best in terms of the BNL Karting Series. Jacob Ashcroft, 217 points. Vince van der Hollen on 206. And Noah Borum on 175. Expect that order to change by the end of play tomorrow. Row 3, it's going to be Fredrik Flod Engebretts from Norway and Cole Denham, the closer on that row. Lars Lambers and Ryan Gandor with Sebastian Oesch and Christian Sejersen rounding out in the next row. Boris Maximov has got a little bit of work to do outside of the top 10. He'll have Kian Bernhard alongside. Albert Friend and Shun Sekaguchi will be next up, ahead of Canada's Olivier Chasse and the Netherlands' AJ Berghoff. Louis Radcliffe and Jackson Gibson next up, ahead of Jente Moonen, Ethan Griffiths, Lieke van Berkel, Archie Lovett, Antoine Silva-Venon, Luan Seidel, Vilmos Vilazits, and then we've got Justin Fonk, Koen Willems, Luca Dumitru, and Pauline Van Preet. That is your grid, and good to see that Kian Bernhard giving from Gavin Bernhard, obviously family relation there, giving Kian a bit of a good luck message through the YouTube channel. We'll be broadcasting on that all the way through today's activities. A lot of racing to do, but it is in the finals on both Saturday and Sunday where it is prevalent. That is where you score your championship points. 55 for a win, 52 for second, 50 for third. And there is your starting grid. 30 junior Rotax drivers set and ready for battle. 7 minutes plus an additional lap here at the 1,360 metre clockwise 13 turn circuit. The drivers now go past the line of no return on the entrance to the pit lane, off of turn number 12. Armstrong and Van der Weyken are going to be controlling the pace. The red lights are on the gantry for the first time here for round 3 of 2025 as the BNL Karting Series revs up. The lights are out. We're underway for the first time. And it's a good start from the front row. Armstrong with Van der Weyken towards the outside. Mulder looking to get through early doors in towards turn number 1. They all fan out. They can use the runoff area off of turn 1 for the first time. But after that, it's a 5-second time penalty for track limits. Drivers squabbling for traction. The 253 getting caught in the crossfire. And that is Isaac Barker, who started 5th on the road as the field makes its way down the famed Europalan into turn 6. Oh, no, we've had dramas. One mounting the back of another one. I think that might... So someone's got a noisy exhaust as a direct correlation, I'm sure. But it was an SP Motorsport kart over the back of somebody else. I think that was AJ Berghoff being involved as the field really swarming for traction. Rory Armstrong, I think, might still be holding on to that lead. No, as they come across the line, it is going to be somebody else. It's Rory Armstrong that leads. Guus Mulder in second. And it's going to be more than likely Jente Moonen side by side with Louis Radcliffe and Isaac Barker going through into turn 1. It really has gotten on, the heat. As they, if anyone might remember the film RoboCop, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But more drivers make their way down the Europalan, a sea of activity at over 100 plus kilometres now. Hard on the brakes, turn it right, turn it left, then right again through into turn 8. But the drivers really having to battle a throw round the outside. I think that might have been possibly Kian Bernhard in the 292. Fredrik Flod Engebretts has just had a warning flag from race control as we complete our second lap of this race. Dive bombs happening into the final corner as Armstrong leads Juice Mulder. Then it's Frederik Flood Engebret's, Cole Denham, Bran van der Weyken, who started on the outside of the front row, has made it to 5th at the minute. Oh, but a bit of a mistake there. Going through into turn 2. Bran van der Weyken, the fastest out there at the moment. Squabble and then some. One of which being the 281 Louis Radcliffe, who's already up 5 places after the opening couple of laps. As Jenthe Moonen and Pauline Van Praet are out of the race, I'm afraid. So we're down to 28 runners and riders. Biggest loser at the moment is Isaac Barker down in 15th position. But Rory Armstrong, who recently in Nuts Corner did the clean sweep, he's holding on to that race lead at the moment. And currently, well, at the minute, Rory Armstrong, where is he in the championship at the moment? A little bit further down than when we would normally see, 31st in the championship standings. So a good start for the youngster from County Down in Northern Ireland. As Christian Sejersen now new fastest lap of the race, the 298 from Denmark. As a nice move, that is the 205 Ryan Gandor, who is currently 6th in the championship standings, the Canadian now. Past Frederik Flood Engebret's, who's going to lose out now to Bran van der Weyken. There's Alex Goodson. And Christian Sejersen not too far behind. Then it's the further second back to Lars Lambers and Sebastian Lersch. Kian Bernhard rounds out your top 11 ahead of Albert Friend. Isaac Barker, Shun Sekaguchi, Louis Radcliffe and Ethan Griffiths at the moment round out your what is effectively your top 17. Villasitz gets a warning flag from race controllers. We're past half time. Juice Mulder running under the brand racing colours, and good to see his driver coach Debbie Hansen is here in person. Good to catch up with her after a long time, but Juice Mulder, as I said, has been very, very busy, and won the Benelux X30 EAMI Benelux Championship last year as a rookie, and really starting to come into his own, being a very well-versed driver, I might hasten to add, as we head into the final 2 minutes and 35 seconds plus an additional lap. So Armstrong trying to keep Mulder at bay. Cole Denham is not that far behind. Gandor is the cork in the bottle from 4th backwards, ahead of Bran van der Weyken. Frederik Flood Engebret's, Christian Sejersen. Fastest lap at the moment, Albert Friend. 56.236, but then it's gone to Cole Denham. And Juice Mulder right with Rory Armstrong as they head through turn 1, now into 2. Mulder is going to wait for the opportunity through into turns 3 and 4. Cold, and then Denham's got the fastest lap of the race, but Mulder's through. Mulder's through on Armstrong. And Armstrong, is he going to try and dive through at turn 6? Yes! Great work there from Rory Armstrong to retake the race lead. But Cole Denham is now making it a Dan Holland Racing sandwich at the moment. Down out of turn number 9 they go. Armstrong has got the legs on Mulder at the minute. But Mulder's just got to keep that cart in that sweet spot. So we're going to have 3 more laps remaining. We're about to complete lap number 6. And Armstrong looks over the right shoulder. Mulder less than 2 tenths behind. Denham a further 0.239 behind. So half a second. Covers the top 3. Bran van der Weyken is bringing the cavalry along for the ride. In 4th position, the youngster from Bouvin Power from Belgium, Boaz Maximov, as there goes Cole Denham up the inside, through at 5, onto the Europlan, past Juice Mulder, goes to the right-hand side of the straight, and keeps ahead of the Dutchman behind. So next time around, it will be our penultimate lap of this race, and with the fact that Denham has got through on Mulder and has started battling, now look at the train closing in on the closer. Armstrong now is pulling away. The gap over the last intermediate was nearly 6 tenths of a second. 2 laps remain. Armstrong is flying away into the distance. Gap now 0.7. Mulder now trying to get through on Denham at turn 1. Nearly a clash of wheels. Denham's got nowhere to go. He's had nowhere but to go off. It's nearly 3 wide coming out of turn 2. Ryan Gandor, the Canadian for KR Sports, now the fastest out there. 55.895 as the timer hits 0. Armstrong now a 1.6 second advantage as everyone else is squabbling behind in the train. Ryan Gandor closing in on Bran van der Weyken, as next time around it will be last lap, and the first person to see it will be the youngster from Northern Ireland. I still remember that man in 2023. Well, I think it was 2023. I'm trying to remember now. But Rory Armstrong now really coming into his own. Onto the final lap we go. 1.8 seconds. It's a Dan Holland Racing 1-2 at the minute, with Cole Denham in second. Mulder, Van der Weyken, Gandor, Flund Engebretts, Lambers, Goodson, Lurch, Bernard and Friend rounding out the top 11. As we head down the Europalan for the final time, Rory Armstrong is pulling clear. 2.2 seconds is the advantage for the 268 as Mulder trying to do everything he can. And oh no! Bran van der Weyken accidentally sideswipes the rear bumper. Juice Mulder sideways holds onto it, and that allows Ryan Gandor to get up into 4th. And Gandor's going to go through and take 3rd. But at the end of it all, the checkered flag is going to wave. Lights out to checkered. It's Rory Armstrong that picks up the win after 9 laps, and his winning margin over teammate Cole Denham, 3.3 seconds. Mulder manages to get back through on Ryan Gandor for P3 at the end of 9 laps. What a way to kickstart the weekend here for round 3. Armstrong takes the victory. Denham second, Mulder in P3. Ryan Gandor nearly made it up 6 places, but would end up finishing in 4th. 5 places gained from 9th on the grid. Ahead of Bran van der Weyken, Frederik Flod Engebretts, Lars Lambers, Sebastian Lurch, Alex Goodson, Kian Bernhard rounding out your top 10. Boris Maximov finishing in 11th ahead of RS Competition's Dane Christian Sederson. Then Albert Friend 13th, Isaac Barker, difficult one for the Dan Holland Racing driver in the 253. Finishing in 14th, head of Ethan Griffiths with Shun Sekaguchi rounding out the top 16. Lieke van Berkel moved up 5 spots to finish in 17th, head of Louis Radcliffe. Antoine Silva Venon, AJ Berggraff completing the top 20. Olivier Chasse, Archie Lovett, Vilmos Wilzitz, Jackson Gibson, Lewin Seidel, Kern Willems, Justin Fonk and Luca Dumitru rounding out the 28 finishers. Jens Moonen and Pauline Van Preek unfortunately retiring. There was the move that saw Juice Mulder go into the lead for a brief moment, and then Cole Denham, the closer, gets through on the 274 from the Netherlands. Bran van der Weyken was also factoring into this, along with Frederik Flod Engebretts, and along with quite a few drivers. There you see the replay on your screen, 3 wide going into turn 2. That's a hairy moment, and normally if you're on the outside, you're better off holding off the throttle. There's some great battles here in the highlights here for... that was the moment where Van der Weyken tagged the back of Mulder. Mulder was sideways, managed to save it. And Ryan Gandor making up positions, got through at Cafe Corner, but Mulder would be able to take the position back and take P3. But Rory Armstrong picks up the first win of the weekend here for BNL 3 here at Karting Genk in the first qualifying heat. B versus C for Junior Max, and we'll see A versus C a little bit later on, just after midday here local time. So very shortly we'll be getting underway with our First qualifying heat for Senior Max, and that will be qualifying heat B versus C. Another big grid here this weekend. Of course, the championship is going to be very, very hotly contested. We've already had 4 scores on the doors so far, and it has been multiple drivers picking up race wins. Tom Lenoir, winner of Final 1 at Genk. Macaulay Bishop took the win and on Sunday's final at the opening round. Cameron Nelson from the United Kingdom via way of Wales, South Wales, I hasten to add. Good to catch up with his dad, Chris, yesterday for quite a long old time. And then it was Matej Radenkovic from Dams Racing, which you see front and centre very shortly on your screens. But Radenkovic, a known quantity, also a man who has done really, really well in a lot of championships. So the green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid for qualifying heat B versus C, Senior Rotax. So the field makes its way onto the circuit here at Genk. Here's your top 3 in the championship after the opening 2 rounds of the season. It's Tom Lenoir from France on 209 points. Macaulay Bishop from the United Kingdom 15 points behind. And then a multi-time Swiss champion, Tino Sidler, rounds out your top 3, a further 2 adrift. More to the point, it's Dams Racing, DHR and Strawberry. So here's your starting grid. We have got 2 drivers that I think might be starting from the repair area, Lewis Goff and Ryan Qureshi. So Matej Radenkovic and Sebastian Koch, who will start on the front row of the grid, and all Dams Racing front row lockout ahead of Bastien Misnil and Tom Lenoir. Thijs van Wijk and Mathis Turlo round out your top 3 rows ahead of Japan's Soichiro Shioda and the USA's Dean Pedersen. Medila Swid and Ollie Yonkers round out the next row. Due to be Lewis Goff alongside Nolan Lemery with Titouan Lescali and Georgia's Lado Kohanidze. Hungary's Armand Hamilton, joined by Ryan Bourguignon from France. William Pemble and Lola Javet will then have behind them Trofim Krotov and Jiri Levar. Sasha M, Rein van der Meer, Adish Mehta from the UAE. Christoph Hulse from Switzerland's got a lot of work to do from the final third of the grid, ahead of Thierry Lemoigne, Enzo Zani, Laurie Legris, Omar Ganoum, Charlie Smith from the USA, who's currently 4th in the standings. He's got a lot of work to do from the back end of the field. Ryan Qureshi and Sverre Ubben. Now, Sverre Ubben was the quickest driver overall in qualifying, but looks to have been demoted post-qualifying itself. So there is your starting grid. 29 drivers, 27 will start from the traditional positions, but it will be the case that so the temperature is increasing. We are around about 23, 24 degrees Celsius here in the Limburg region of Belgium. It's going to be 7 minutes plus an additional lap, as Radenkovic and Koch will be leading the field as they pass the point of no return, the red line that leads them into the pit lane. And with the racing being overseen by race director Manuel Branco and his team. Also a big thank you once again for WFR Live TV for providing the pictures in glorious sound and vision for you all to see. As the drivers go out of the final corner, the lights go out. We are underway and racing for 7 minutes, as Radenkovic leads the field into turn 1 for the first time. Got to be very, very careful. Sverre Ubben trying to make up positions early doors, waiting for his opportunity to get through. As the field makes its way up towards turn 5 for the first time at the Idaplan. The 334, Dean Pedersen, running on the Kart Republic chassis, being chased down. probably by Ollie Yonkers, the 336 for Dams Racing, as they come through turn 8 and into turn 9 before running down the short chute through into Cafe Corner at turn number 10. So a lot of activity, dive up the inside, and that would have been Tom Lanois going through, but after the opening lap of this race, it is Mateo Radenkovic that leads. So it's Thijs van Wijk from Dan Holland Racing that Tom Lanois managed to get through and tried to put a gap on. There is the 352, the Sodi Kart of Mehdi Lassued, another driver I encountered at the International Trophy back in the hot French summer at Le Mans in 2021. Of course, just recently had the 93rd running of the Le Mans 24 Hours take place just last weekend. But Radenkovic leading the way ahead of Bastien Mesnil, Sebastian Koch, Tom Lanois, Thijs van Wijk rounding out the top 5 as there are battles up and down the order. The field threads its way through the final few corners. Dive bomb and a half, that was the 312. That is Charlie Smith making moves up the order. So Lewis Goff and Ryan Qureshi not able to take the start. We're down to 27. So Charlie Smith at the moment has made up 9 places in the opening 2 laps of this race. So the American for Strawberry Racing doing a solid job at the moment. Biggest gainer, and with him is going Onad Ganoum from the United Arab Emirates. There's the 354 of Nolan Lemare, one of the drivers from RM Concept, being chased down by SR Solutions' Matty Sterlo, who alternates between driving duty and also driver coaching and working on the spanners. So just under 4.5 minutes to go. Radenkovic has got the controlling arm on proceedings at the moment as things stand. Mesnil trying to be chased down by a flurry of teammates, but looks like Matty Sterlo has made a move. Thijs van Wijk has made a move, so has Mehdi Lassued, and they have got through on Tom Lanois. Sochiro Shioda is also trying to make some impressive moves up the order, the Japanese driver, in the 382, did the fastest final sector of anybody. So Shioda running with Jan Dams' team at Dams Racing. Very closely packed field at the moment. Titouan Lescali, fastest overall in the opening sector. Vlado Kuhanidze, the Georgian driver, fastest overall in terms of lap pace, 55.338. Radenkovic keeping a solid 5.5 of a second advantage. We have had a warning flag go out to the 376, Lola Gervais from France, as we are past the halfway point. Drivers going side by side, wheel to wheel, as Charlie Smith really trying to... Now, where is Charlie Smith at the moment? 18th now. The American up 11 positions. Difficult qualifying for the American. Titouan Lescali, new fastest lap of the race, 55.212. As it's going to be 3 wide trying to come out of the Europalan. Shioda, Longlois, and I think that was Turlo trying to go around the outside. That was very, very close going through turn 6 and 7. And in the middle of all of that, I think was I see a Qatar Motorsport livery, if I'm very much mistaken. That's Jules Levar, I think I saw on the 379. Bit of a stumble by one of the other drivers, not too far behind. But we are coming down to the final 2.25 minutes of this opening heat of the weekend for Cinemax. And Charlie Smith has now made it into the top 15. Nolan Lemare up 6 places, new fastest lap of the race by the 354 from France. 54.974 for the French competitor. As there goes Charlie Smith, steamrolling his way past Titouan Lescali in the 318. That's now 15 places gained by the American. Great work there by Charlie Smith. Just to steadily move progressively up the order. Keep your nose clean. Don't clatter into anybody Don't misalign that front bumper, which is an automatic 5-second time penalty post-race. So Radenkovic has a lead of just over 0.59 of a second. Ahead of Bastien Misnil, Sebastian Koch, Thijs van Wijk, Mehdi Laswed, Nolan Lemaire, Soichiro Shioda, Mathis Tolo, Ollie Yonkers, and Lado Koenitze. And, well, Tom Longnoir. Oh, well, that's a development for the points leader in the championship. So Tom Longnoir did not come through Sector 3 and has tumbled. Armand Hamilton is also down. So that is a big drama for the points leader coming to this round of the season. A drama on the first heat of the weekend. Not what the doctor ordered. Lemaire overall fastest in the first sector. Shioda fastest in Sector 2. Lemaire's done another new fastest lap of the race as we have 2 to go. And there is Mesnil, Koch, Van Wijk, Laswed, Lemaire about 6 tenths behind the 352 from G-Kart 53 on the Sodi kart. And here goes a dive up the inside by Thijs van Wijk. Sebastian Koch managing to keep out of the way, but Mehdi Laswed has been brought into the battle. Sveti Uben, who started from the back end of the field, now up to 18th. New fastest lap of the race by the GKS Lemons Power driver, 54.868. As the timer has hit 0, we'll have one more lap to go after this. So Radenkovic is going to see the last lap board first out of anybody. Mehdi Laswed holding on to position as the French driver comes out of the final corner, up 5 places from 9th on the spot on the start. Ahead of Lemaire, ahead of Van Wijk, who are 6th and 5th respectively. Bit of a robust defence there. A little bit of a tap from behind from Lemaire onto Van Wijk, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Lemaire switches to the outside at turn 5, onto the Europelan. Now there could be an opportunity. Oh, big old off there for Nolan Lemaire down this back straight. He was on the grass, mowing the lawn and sideways whilst airborne. But Radenkovic has done more than enough. He has comfortably brought the 399 from Dams Racing from pole position, from lights out to checkered flag. Matej Radenkovic comes out of the final corner and will win Heat 1 Seniors for Groups B and C by over a second. Ahead of Bastien Misnil, Sebastian Koch rounds out the top 3. Ahead of Mehdi Laswed, Thijs van Wijk, and well done to Soichiro Shioda. Finishing in 6th, a few drag races across the line. Shioda finished ahead of Nolan Lemaire, Ollie Yonkers, Mathis Turlo, and Georges Lado Kuhanidze. But Matej Radenkovic did exactly not put a foot wrong at all in that race. Takes the win ahead of Mesnil, Koch, Laswed, Van Wijk, Shioda, Lemaire, Yonkers, Turlu and Kuhanidze. Jules Levar, great work there by the Slovenian driver, up 9 places to finish 11th ahead of Dean Pedersen, who was accompanied by countryman Charlie Smith, 29th to 13th by the checkered. Great work there by the 312. Titouan Lescali, Trofim Krotov, Omar Gunum, good work by the Emirati, 28th to 16th ahead of Sveti Uben, who finished 17th. Sasha Aim, William Pemble and Christopher Holst rounded out in your top 20 ahead of Theo Lemoine, Rein van der Meer, Ryan Bourguignon, Lola Gervais, Enzo Zani, Armand Hamilton, Laurie Legris and Adish Mehta. Unfortunately, with 4 laps to go, retirement for the points leader in the series, Tom Longlois. Lewis Goff and Ryan Qureshi, unfortunately, retiring from the race itself. As very shortly, well, we're going to have a look back at the highlights here at the opening race for seniors for Groups B versus C, heat number 1. So some great racing from the Senior Road Tax Division as we now head to our youngest drivers, Mini and Mini Rookie, here for their first of 2 qualifying heats. Oh, but there's drama. Riley Morrow! Oh no, drama for the Sam Pollock Racing driver who came into this championship as the points leader. Riley Morrow will be sitting from the sidelines. Oh, but here is the top 3 in the championship so far. So for Minimax rookie, Cian Hay on 217, Arlo Gamble on 159. And then when we go to Minimax, so that's the top 2 for Minimax rookie. The top 3 for Minimax itself will be Riley Morrow on 211 points. Second, Austin Aman, 208. And then Strawberry Racing's Tom Reed, a further 6 points adrift in third position. But Riley Morrow, his kart faltering, and so he's not going to start from pole on this one, I'm afraid. But it's going to mean that Mick Clinkers will lead from the outside of the opening row of the grid, ahead of Tom Reed and Dean Habits, meaning Tom Reed has got a clear hole shot opportunity onto the inside of turn number 1 very shortly. Finn Albert Jorgensen will be joined by Austin Aman, Gillian Dummer with Jazz Hands, Leo Livings, Arhan Qureshi and Andreas Yellerup, followed by Logan Rolfe and Harry Radcliffe. New recruit at SB Motorsport, Oliver Spencer, will be joined by the Emirates' very own Atika Asifmir, a 2-time runner-up in the MENA Karting Championship Nations Cup. Cian Hay and Conrad Doyle, Ari Kallenberg, Lucien Smith, Leonard Costa, Malte Holm, Felix Chang from Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan. Shout out his coach, Ragnar Veris, and also good friend Roger Young. Tran Van Malik, Leon Herbols, Paul Dussar, Ryan Rampadarath, Mikkel Gottschalk, Milo de Koolsmaker, Tian Vesnever, Sebastian de Moisac, Noah Stehouder, Augustin Henrique, Arlo Gamble and Sasha Al Jabrail. That is your grid. As the red lights are on the gantry, 7 minutes plus an additional lap, 25 degrees Celsius air temperature. As the drivers will make their way coming out of the final corner, the revs are up, the lights are green. We're underway and racing at a good start from the outside of the front row by Mick Clinkers. Tom Reed trying to go up the inside very, very quickly as Austin Aman trying to make his impression felt in this early stage of the race day. Up through into turn 5 for the first time. And there's juxtaposing for positions, including with the 149 of Arhan Qureshi from the UAE. So everyone making it neatly through so far. But at the moment it will be Mick Clinkers leading the way as they come through turn number 9. As the 153, Andreas Yellerup, the Dane with KR Sport, loses a position down into Cafe Corner. So a lot of opportunity here. Now that Riley Morrow is going to be on the back foot for heat number 2. Then we've got the pre-finals, which will then, after the final intermediate classification, will give us our grids for the finals later on. Clinkers leads after the opening lap ahead of Dejan Habits. Tom Reed, Austin Aman, now up 2 spots. Finn Albert Jorgensen, the recently crowned Danish champion, who's going to be representing Team Denmark in Bahrain, rounds out P5 ahead of Germany's Gillian Dummer. Oliver Spencer already up 6 places, and I don't think he's going to stop there. The 142 from the United Kingdom ahead of KR Sports, Leo Livings, Andreas Yellerup, Harry Radcliffe, Lucien Smith in the 141 has made up 7 spots in the opening lap and has just gone purple in sector number 1. Positions are swapping left, right and centre. It's going to be a hard, fast-paced, action-filled race as a dive to the inside into turn number 10. Harry Radcliffe has just received the black and white warning flag from race control as we head into our next lap. Tom Reed looking for the move up the inside of Dejan Habits. That's going to possibly open the door for Austin Aman, but the 121 from Sam Pollock Racing denied at that point. Finn Albert Jorgensen being hounded by Germany's Gillian Dummer. Finn Albert Jorgensen running under Jan Dams' awning this weekend. as the field makes its way down the Europelan in towards turn 6 and 7. So Mick Klinkers trying to hold on at the moment. Tom Reed through on D and Habits. Osterman's needing to get through on the 131 from Belgium very, very quickly through turn 9. That is not going to happen. However, down into turn 10 at Cafe Corner. Just coming up to the 3 minutes out of 7 completed. And Mick Klinkers is going to lead us on to lap number 4. Tom Reed now second. The young man from Strawberry Racing trying to close down on the Dutch driver at the front end of the field. Dean Habits, Austin Amman, Finn Albert Jorgensen, Gillian Dimmer, Oliver Spencer, Lucian Smith. Where have you sprung from? 18th to 8th place. 10 spots gained for the KR Sport driver, Lucian Smith from the United Kingdom. And then it's a multitude of Brits. Austin Amman dives through on Dean Habits. Down at turn 6. Great work there by the Sam Pollitt Racing driver through on the youngster from Dams Racing. So it's Harry Radcliffe, Logan Rolfe, then it's Arhan Qureshi, Ari Kallenberg, Andreas Jellerup, Conrad Doyle, Trent van Melk, Atika Asif Mir, Leon Herboz, Paul Dussart and Malte Holm rounding out your top 20. Felix Chang from Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan. It's been a very strong, very significant learning curve from the youngster, coached by Carthletics' very own Ragnar Veras, who finally, after many years of trying, there goes a hop, skip and a jump there. 3 wide coming out of turn 2. And in the middle of that was Lucian Smith, who's just behind Leo Livings. And then you've got the 113. There's Harry Radcliffe for Sam Pollitt Racing. Harry's made a few moves up the order as well, made up 2 places. Oliver Spencer, the 142 for SP Motorsport, the team owned and operated by Stan Pex, has just been given the black and white warning flag from Race Control. But 2 minutes and 12 seconds plus an additional lap to go. Mick Klinkers still leading. Austin Amman closing in on Tom Reed. These two are third and second for the respective championship battle in the Minimax classification. This year we do have tickets going out for 1 driver in all of the 5 classes. That does not include Mini Rookie, I'm afraid. So Minimax, Junior Max, Senior Max, Max DD2 and Max DD2 Masters. There will be a ticket up for grabs come the end of this championship season for 1 lucky driver to qualify to what I think is the biggest, the best event in modern day world karting, the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals, where you qualify, you earn your place to be a part of over 380 plus drivers from over 60 different nations running for yourself and for your nation. Coming up to maybe 2 laps to go, 1 minute and 5 remaining. We're running at the, we could actually see, maybe we're going to be tight on time. 2 laps to go. There's one driver that's not going any further, I'm afraid, and kicks the grass in frustration. That is going to be either Conrad Doyle, I'm afraid. So Conrad Doyle, after Riley Murrow's sudden surprising exit before the race started, means that we have 2 retirees. 31 out of 33 drivers still running. Next time around, I'm sure we will have the last lap board being shown. It's not been an easy one. These conditions are still going to get hotter and hotter still over the course of today's racing. And we're looking at, by between 4 and 6 p.m, 31 degrees Celsius. So coming down to the final few seconds of the race itself, it is going to be last lap. So Klinkers 0.15 ahead of Reed, Oman and Jorgensen. A 4-way scrap for the race lead. On to the last lap we go. And this is going to be quite crucial, how these drivers negotiate the Europelan. Reed covers off on Oman. Jorgensen looks to the inside. Now Reed gets a tow from Klinkers down the Europolan. Jorgensen to the outside. That's not going to work, I'm afraid. Gave it a good shot, though, did the youngster from Denmark. However, there's just a handful of corners to go. Jorgensen trying everything in his power to get through on Austin Amman. Now Mick Klinkers will realise that Tom Reed is right behind him. It's going to be the run to the line here as they come towards turns 12 and 13. Amman to the outside of Reed. Through the final two corners they go. It's going to be the run to the line, but it's going to be Klinkers. Klinkers takes it. Klinkers takes it. Well, hang on. We've just had the last lap board shown for the second time. So whether we were just... well, it is going to be Klinkers that is holding on at the moment. But in the meantime, Austin Amman has got past Tom Reed. Amman is looking for a victory. Reed gives the 121 from Sam Pollock Racing a little bit of a bump from behind. But there is Oliver Spencer. Oliver Spencer from SP Motorsport is there in the mix. And he's through on Finn Albert Jorgensen. Then you've got Leo Livings, Dean Habits and Lucian Smith now making it. Look at the train. Look at the train coming out of turn number 9 for the final time. And it is being led by Mick Klinkers. Reed goes defensive on Spencer. But it could be the fact, can Austin Amman get the run out of the final couple of corners on Mick Klinkers? It's going to be close. It is going to be a photo finish. Amman pulls the right-hand side. Klinkers defends and takes it by 56 thousandths. 56 thousandths of a second was the winning margin between Mick Klinkers and Austin Amman. Tom Reed takes P3. Oliver Spencer from 13th on the grid takes P4. 5th, Finn Albert Jorgensen. Leo Living 6th, head of Dean Habits. Lucian Smith started 18th, finishes in 8th, head of Harry Radcliffe and Logan Rolfe, who ran out your top 10. Arhan Qureshi, Julian Dummer, Ari Kallenberg, Andreas Jellerup, Leon Herbos, Malte Holm, Atika Asifmir, Lennart Köster, Paul Dussault, Mikkel Gottschalk ran out your top 20. Noah Stayhouder, Dan Visnever, Arlo Gamble, Ryan Rampadanath, Kian Hay, Tren Van Melik, Sasha Al-Jabral, Sebastian Demoisac, Felix Chang, Mila de Karlsmaker, and Augustin Hernique ran out the 31 finishers. Conrad Doyle out with 4 laps to go, and Riley Murrow, the pole sitter in time qualifying, out before the race had even gotten started. So we are just about to get underway with our next qualifying heat. It's DD2 and DD2 Masters. The temperature is really ramping up now, and there is going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered. Of course, the drivers and everyone else in the paddock will be keeping as hydrated as possible, because with the temperatures soaring over 30 plus degrees later on today, it is going to be a sweat box here at the home of champions. So the drivers start their engines, and the green flag is waved at the end of the dummy grid as they head on to the circuit. One driver trying to get their engine started finally gets that fired up as they head out onto the track here in the Limburg region of Belgium. So championships still up for grabs in the respective classes, and it's time to run you through the top three. For DD2 Masters, it's Christophe Capitan, the man from RM Concept, leading the way ahead of Jeremy Brasler by 9 points, and then always the bridesmaid, but can he become the bride this year? It's Germany's Michael Becker on 202 points. Along with that, the top three overall after 2 rounds. 4 scores already taken. It's Sam Knopfjes, the 2024 Dutch chrono karting DD2 champion. He is ahead of Denmark's Frederik Zevis, and it's RM Concepts' Antoine Babahoul who rounds out your top 3. Here's the starting grid for qualifying heat number 1 out of 2. Firstly, Gustav Zusakovs is showing in on the pits, so might have to start from the repair area. The man based out of Larkfield, not too far from the Republic of Tyne and Weir and Sunderland. Shout out Joe Bradley, John Hindor et al. So Lawrence Herboz and Sam Knopfjes will be on the front row of the grid. Antoine Babahoul and the 444 of Nicolas Guillaume rounding out row 2. William Christensen and Axel Hoos round out row 3, and then it's going to be William Norbeek and Len Nyes. Bendit Saba will be joined by Marco Dreddenpreis. Then it's the man leading the championship, RM Concepts, Christophe Capitan. He'll be joined by the man who I haven't seen in about 2 years, Austria's Manuel Tenschert, in the 484. And they'll be ahead of Norway's Mattis Ankans and Wout Kerstens. Funny enough, it's like father, like son. Moritz Knopfjes also joins us on the grid. He'll be joined by Frederik Zevis with Kian de Brandt, Jeremy Brasler, Michael Becker, and Germany's Dmitry Ostrovsky. Rounding out the drivers who will take the start, Gustav Zusakovs, the man who lives along with father Yanis. It's quite funny. Yanis has got the beard, Gustav's has got the hair. I'm going to leave you on that kind of equation what you think it might be. Oh, also, before I forget, many happy returns. Jacob Ashcroft, 14 today. So, on behalf of the entire team here at the BNL Karting Series, Jacob, many, many happy returns. So, into the tram lines we go. Revs up. And are we green? Yes, we are. For 7 minutes, plus an additional lap, the field starts to fan out as Lawrence Herboz leads the way. Sam Knopfjes trying to go around the outside. That's opened the door for Antoine Babahoul. And has the French driver got through? I think he might have done, but they are going to be hurriedly making their way through. No, Knopfjes kept his position ahead of the 402. So as they go down the Europalan for the first time of asking, there's Len Nyes trying to get through at turns 6 and 7. Oh, and we've had a turnaround. Someone's had a touch from behind. I think that might have been... It's a 4.5. It might have been Axel Hoos possibly in the 4.55. But the first lap very shortly will be completed. So after the opening lap is done and dusted, it's Lawrence Herboz who leads, head of Sam Knopfjes, Antoine Babahoul, Nicolas Guillaume, William Norbeek, William Christensen. Christophe Capitan was the driver, funnily enough, ahead of Len Nyes. It was Axel Hoos that got turned around. Frederik Zevis the Dane for SP Motorsport, Guillaume's teammate, who actually switched midway through the season to the squad from RS competition, basically because he wanted to go into shifter karting, and has made several appearances, particularly in the Chrono Karting Dutch Championship this year. But Herboz is keeping a tight lid on proceedings at the moment as they head through into turns 12 and 13. Not for much longer because the floodgates were opened. Knopfier's through. Barbarou through. Guillaume now waiting for his opportunity. He's 0.16 behind his countryman from Bouvin Power, as Knopfier's starting to try and pull a gap over Barbarou, but Sam Knopfier's at the moment has a perfect score. 220 points. Won both finals at Genk at round 1, both finals at Marienburg at round 2. And now he's got to do that all again this weekend. But as I said, the biggest point that we've got to look at this weekend is conservation of tyres. Now, the drivers are only given a certain limited amount of supply, and they've got to make that work. Now, obviously, there may be, if there are any supplementary bulletins that may allude to further allocation, then that is at the discretion of the organisers, and obviously discussions with team managers. And obviously, there may be some drivers that might air a slight concern or two. Knopfier's leading, now has the fastest lap of the race, 54.815 for the man from the Netherlands, who spent a lot of the time during the winter driver coaching over in the UAE. So we're coming up to half-time in this race, and Christophe Capitan is ahead of, I think, Bendit Sabo in the 496. Capitan leading the way in Masters. His next opponent is Moritz Knopfier's, all the way down in 15th position. So Knopfier's Sam Knopfier's after 4 laps leads the way by just over 0.27 of a second. Guillaume and Herboz now battling away. William Christensen is not that far behind, neither is William Norbeek, as Herboz having to defend against Guillaume. Down the European they go once again. This is a battle for third place, and Guillaume with a late dive and then some. Oh, welcome to the Danny Rick Club, Mr. Guillaume. Brilliantly timed. Sent it like he meant it, and there goes William Christensen through at turn 9. William Norbeek is also looking to get through on Herboz. Might get the run. He comes out of Cafe Corner into turn 11. Nearly clashes with the left rear wheel. And there is Len Noyes to pick up the pieces. Haha. That's textbook from Len Noyes. Always the eager opportunist. And now he's going to go for the move up the inside on Norbeek. Brilliant work there by Noyes. Gets through. Holds his line through 2. And Christensen not able to do anything about it. But Len Noyes, that is what you call stealing candy from a baby by the man from Belgium. I still remember his days running with the team located at this circuit, GKS Lemons Power. I still remember those days. Him and Thomas Strauver now running in Formula 4 Spain, who were competing at Paul Ricard this weekend. So good luck to Thomas. As Lawrence Herboz gets through on William Christensen on that particular occasion, who's now got a fight on his hands. Look at the train behind. Herboz is there, Sabo there, Capitan, Tenschert, and Ankans, Kirstens, they are all in a row. And now Noyes becomes the cork in the bottle. Knopfier's 54.426 seconds, new fastest race lap. Barbarou is trying to chase him down. He's just over 0.2 of a second. Sam Spinell, how are you doing? Is Knopfier's playing on easy? You might want to ask him yourself. You might want to send him a text message on that front, Mr. Spinell. So Antoine Barberou trying to close that gap down. We've got 2 laps to go. So Barberou is within that window of opportunity. If he stays within a 1/10.5 to 2/10 of a second, as Len Nyes battling away with Lawrence Herboz. This is for 6th position on the road. They've got Bendit Sabo, Christophe Capitan. Capitan doing a sterling job holding his position on the road within the top 10, but also as a Masters driver. As a dive up the inside, Barberou gets through. That was brilliant. Just an echo of what we saw with Nicolas Guillaume. Antoine Barberou just absolutely flew up the inside, late on the brakes, carried the momentum through. And Barberou will not give up without a fight. We're down to 0 on the timer. Barberou's going to lead us on to the final lap of this race. Knopfjes gets his head down. Guillaume 3rd, Christensen 4th. Norbeke in 5th. Knopfjes not done yet, but Barberou's hanging on by a finger thread at the moment. Through in towards turn 4 and 5 for the final time. And Knopfjes to the outside, through into the Europalan for the final time. And he's carrying the speed through. Oh, he nearly ended up over the back bumper, but Knopfjes through at turn 8. But Barberou is going to fight back. This is going to allow Guillaume to close in as we close down the last few corners. Barberou switches to the outside through into Cafe Corner. Guillaume is there. Now down into the final couple of corners. Guillaume swings it high and wide to the outside, trying to get the over-under. Knopfjes might get the run on the pair of them. It's going to be 3. Oh, how close was that? How close was that? Antoine Barberou was 65 thousandths a second away from picking up the win. Once Knopfjes and Barberou tried the old crisscross, or the old switcheroo, as David Croft would probably call it, Sam Knopfjes wins by 64 thousandths of a second. Antoine Barberou 2nd, Nicolas Guillaume P3, William Christensen and William Norbeke, the 2 Danes, ran out your top 5 ahead of Len Nyes. Lawrence Herboz, Bendit Sabo, Christophe Capitan rounds out the top 9 and also takes the win in DD2 Masters. Manuel Tenscher rounds out the top 10 ahead of Matthias Hankans, Wout Kerstens, Marco Drittenpreis, Kian de Brandt, Maurice Knopfjes. Axel Hoos off the spin around in turn 7 dropped down to 16th ahead of Jeremy Brasler, Michael Becker, Dimitri Ostrovsky and Frederick Zebis rounding out the finishing order. Gustav Zusakos, a non-starter. Well, we still do have another couple of races to go before we head on to the lunch break as we check out the highlights for DD2 and DD2 Masters, because up very shortly we will be going into action for our penultimate race before the lunch break, and that will be Junior Max Heat 2, Groups A versus C, coming up very shortly. So up now, it is Junior Max Heat 2, A versus C. And here is your starting grid. It's an all-Belgian front row. Vince van der Holle and Bram van der Weken ran out the front row ahead of Mate Kobehidze, who took the win for the Junior Max class at Trinech at the Steel Ring for the most recent round of the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. But it is Jacob Ashcroft, birthday boy today, 14 years old, not here this weekend. But Vince van der Holle and Noah Barham round out the top 3 in the standings. So we've got Mate Kobehidze and Alex Goodson rounding out the top 2 rows of the grid. Max Sidursky, Frederick Flood Engelbrechts, Kai Clark, Lars Lambers, Noah Barham, Sebastian Lersch, Harry Taylor, Boris Maximov, Devry Mieta, Albert Friend, Storm van Rossum, Olivier Chasse, Harry Freeman, Louis Radcliffe, Lionel Munguia, Jens Immonen, Will Archer, Lieke van Berkel, Mitansh Jain, then Antoine Silva Venant, Mohamed El Bouzaki, and we've got Vilmos Vilicic, Kazuki Kitanaka will have Koen Willems, Samir Paul, Pauline Van Plate, and Ludwig Hansson not too far behind for close company. 31 drivers set to go into battle for 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Rory Armstrong picked up the win on the road in the opening race of the weekend for the Junior Max division. So the drivers now head towards the line of no return on the entrance towards the pit lane here at Karting Genk as we are under starters' orders. The red lights are on the gantry here for this second out of 3 qualifying heats for the Junior Max division. So they accelerate into the tram lines. We go. The lights go green. We are underway and racing. And it is the 2 Belgians from Bouvin Power, Linus, well, they're side by side going into turn 1. Bit of a moment at the background. 2 go rally crossing. 2 were nearly intertwined at the side pod, going through on the outskirts of turn number 1. However, some drivers making it too wide, going through into turns 3 and 4, and then heading into 5. Be very, very decisive on your change of direction around certain parts of this circuit, as it is Van der Hollen leading ahead of Van der Weyken. Dive up the inside by Matic Gorbehidze. That would have been on Max Swiderski in the 297. However, Swiderski still holding on. Matic Gorbehidze going defensive, and that would be Kai Clark right on his rear. This is an absolute swarm of karts going through turn number 11. Gorbehidze's got more than likely Clark going to the inside and has gotten through. There is Noah Barham just behind, and then we've got Harry Taylor in the 225. So all 3 with the recognisable white, blue and yellow of Dan Holland Racing running on the Lando Norris karts. And here goes. Well, Matic Gorbehidze has just been given a warning flag. So has the 251 of Mitansh Jain, who's down in 19th position. As diving up the inside of Harry Taylor goes Noah Barham. That is a change for 6th. So 2 minutes down, 2 laps completed, and it is the Bouvin Power duo of Van der Holle and Van der Weyken leading the way. Max Swiderski P3 for SP Motorsport. Then it is the number 267 of Kai Clark. And Clark is trying to close in on Swiderski in the meantime. Matic Gorbehidze from Georgia rounding out the top 5. Seen a lot of improvement from that young man over, especially last year. First year as a junior. If anyone might remember his move around the outside at Kerpen through the twisty stuff, well, Swiderski has been passed by Kai Clark from KR Sports. So Clark now up into P3. Gorbehidze still holding station behind them in 5th. But at the moment, at this point, it is about getting through these qualifying heats. So making sure that you do exactly what you can through your 2 qualifying heats. And that is where things become very decisive reference the final intermediate classification before we go to the finals later on this afternoon. Due to start at about 3:15, bearing in mind of any stoppages or any delays that might happen forthwith. So the two Puvan Power drivers, Van der Holle and Van der Weyken, leading the way. Van der Holle takes a look over the right shoulder. Clark being closed in on by Swiderski and Kobe. And it's Harry Taylor, Noah Barham, Boris Maximov, Lars Lambers and Sebastian Loesch rounding out your top 10. Will Archer in the 261 has made some steady progress. Will running with Ash Orchard's team at KR Sports. So some good work there. Fastest lap of the race so far, Kai Clark, 56.412. As we've got 2.5 minutes to go. Some drivers, Devon Yater down 15 spots, Olivier Chasse down 10. Same with Storm Van Rossum. Now Albert Friend is the latest driver to have a black and white warning flag from race control, the 229. So 2 minutes remaining, and Kai Clark has been closing in hand over fist. He was nearly 4/10 quicker than Bran van der Weyken on the previous tour. 56.224 by Clark. Van der Weyken 56.620. Van der Holle 56.535. So that says to me, the two up front, keep your eyes peeled for the man closing in behind you, Kai Clark. The 267 from KR Sport will be in contention for the race win. 2 laps to go. Well, this and 2 more. And another new fastest lap. 55.926. As now Van der Weyken up the inside of Van der Holle. That's the first move between those two drivers all race long, because they now know that Kai Clark is closing in. Harry Taylor, fastest in Sector 2 overall. Mate Kobe. Oh, Kai Clark just angrily points forward. Says to Vince van der Hollen, right, you keep on looking forward and wait until I throw one up the inside. Because that's not going to be a case of if, it's going to be a case of when does that happen. And that will be sooner rather than later, given the opportunity. That's also going to now allow Swiderski and Kobe to close. Harry Taylor not that far behind either. Noah Barham, Boris Maximov, Lambers and Loesch round out the top 10. 2 laps to go. Clark is now going to engage the afterburners on that Cosmic chassis. Top 3 covered by just over 3/10 as we head on to the penultimate lap of this race. The top 3 can't be separated. They are line astern, running in each other's wheel tracks. Through down to turn 5 for the final for the penultimate time. Next time around we'll have our last lap. And Clark, when is he going to dive to the inside? Not through turn 6, he doesn't. He gave it a thought, but thought discretion was the better part of valour. Good strategic choice there from the KR Sport driver. We now head to Cafe Corner. Timer has hit 0. So last lap underway, and Van der Weyken has a lead of just under 0.19 of a second. Van der Holle still in P2. Clark, Swiderski, Kobe, Taylor. Olivier Chasse from Canada gets a warning flag from race control as they go towards the Europalan for the final time. What does Van der Holle have in the pocket? Can Kai Clark close in under slipstream? Van der Holle goes defensive. Van der Weyken goes defensive into turn 6 and 7 for the final time. Through into 8. Now just a handful of corners remaining. Turns 10 to 13. Van der Halle switches a little bit wider to the outside into turn 10. But it could be a three-way fight for the lead and the race victory. Through out of the final corner. Clark's going to give it a try. Who's going to take the win? It is going to be Bran van der Weken. Takes the victory in Heat 2. Qualifying Heat 2. Groups A versus C. In Junior Max ahead of Vince van der Halle. Kai Clark by 79 thousandths, denied P2, but finishes a credible third on the road. Ahead of Max Siderski, Mate Kobehidze, Harry Taylor started from 11th, finished P6. Ahead of Noah Barr, Boris Maximov, Lars Lambers, Frederick Flood, Engelbretts, Will Archer up from, I cannot believe I'm saying this, 21st to 11th, and he finishes ahead of KR Sport teammate Harry Freeman, who made up 5 places from 17th on the grid. Sebastian Lersch and Alex Goodson and Lionel Munguia round out your top 15. Ahead of Louis Radcliffe, Albert Friend, Lieke van Berkel, Mohamed El Bouzaki, Vilmos Wilzitz, Storm van Rossum, Jens Moonen, Mitanesh Jain, Kazuki Kitanaka, Olivier Chasse, Antoine Silva Venot, Ludwig Hansson, Koen Willems, Devin Mieta, Samir Paul and Pauline Van Praet all made it to the checkered flag. Now it's time for our second and penultimate qualifying heats. It's A versus C. Senior Rotax. Here is your starting grid. On pole position, the man from Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire, Macaulay Bishop. He'll be joined by recent winner at Amping on the front row, Sebastian Koch from Germany. Matthias Jellerup and Tom Lenoir ran out the top 2 rows ahead of Tino Sidler, Matti Sturlo, as you see the top 3 in the championship standings. Those points won't change until the end of today. So Matti Sturlo and Andrea Remy round out the next row ahead of Dean Pedersen, Jort van Wijk, Ollie Jonkers and Lizzie Muntier rounding out the next row. Nolan Emery, Attila Kalapax, Lado Kuhanidze, Knut Nielsen, Ryan Bourguignon, Ollie Wise, Lola Javet, Lloyd Hare, Jules Levar. Then we've got Tino Potier, Ryan Vandermeer, Titouan Rocher, Christopher Halls, Dante Sima, Enzo Zani, Ryan Kairos, Omar Ganoum, Cameron Nelson, Ryan Qureshi and Anya Levar rounding out the grid. So 7 minutes on the counter plus an additional lap. The drivers weaving from side to side at the moment. Of course, the temperatures are increasing. 27 degrees air temperature here at the Home of Champions. It is going to get hotter over the next few hours, and it will be at its hottest when we hit the finals later on today. Until we get to that point, the road is long, the road is arduous, and it can be testing at times for every single one of our drivers as they are told to slow. The red lights are on the gantry for this race as we are under starters' orders for qualifying Heat 2. Groups A versus C for Senior Rotax here at the Home of Champions on day one of round 3 for BNL 3 2025. As it will be out of the tram, into the tram lines, revs up, lights on, and the lights go out first time. We're under green flag conditions as Macaulay Bishop leads the way. As Matthias Jellerup trying to dive up the inside. Tom Lenoir also trying to get his elbows out. 3-4 abreast at the back end of the field as they go through into turns 2, 3, 4. Now into the right-hander. The hairpin here at 5. As Macaulay Bishop leads the way. Andreas Jellerup looking to get up into third early. There's a few other drivers trying to make their way down into the Europelan. 1 dive bomb and a half and managing to get the kart stopped, which I am very, very surprised at. But someone just went grass mowing, and that looked to be, it was a Dan Holland racing kart. Well, it was, I think, Lloyd Hare in the 341 that went off at turn number 7. So now it's going to be a case of how things transpire over the next 6 minutes or so, as it's a big old battle here. This is for P3 on the road, I believe. And that is... No, it's not. It's for P2. Langlois is through. Tom Langlois had a DNF in the opening heat. He's got to maximise his opportunity. So Langlois will have to do everything in his power to try and close in on Macaulay Bishop, the man who is second in the championship standings coming into this round. We're on lap number 2 of this race, and Langlois finds himself 9 tenths behind Macaulay Bishop as Bishop makes his way through in towards the final couple of corners of the racetrack here at Genk. Sebastian Koch now battling away with Matthias Jellerup. Tino Sidler from Strawberry Racing has thrown his elbows out, and he has got through. Great move there from the younger brother of Mario Sidler. Oh, and a big incident, one on top of the other. Oh, who was that? That was the 336 of Ollie Yonkers, and Mathis Turlo was the man underneath. Turlo out of the race. That is a real shame. Just goes to show that sometimes a little bit too much bravado or a little bit too much over-aggression. You know, it's hot, it's heat, you know, it's very... This heat is stifling for the drivers at the moment. Triple layer Nomex, plus race gloves, plus any underwear that they're using for fire retardancy. The boots, the helmet. So, Tom Lenoir has had a warning flag. So, Mathis Turlo is out on the spot. Cameron Nelson up 11 spots, new fastest lap of the race. 55.579 for the 304 from Wales. Really good job there. He's having to do what Charlie Smith's been doing in the opening heat, just scything his way through the field. Get up there as high as you can. Obviously, the qualifying heats will determine the top 36 out of, I think it's 47 drivers that we've got in Senior Max this weekend. So Langlois will be hoping that even though he had a DNF in race 1, that race 2 will be more than enough to compensate for it. Because the higher up your position in the order is, the more points you score. So, lap 4 in the books. Macaulay Bishop has a lead over Tom Langlois of nearly 1.4 seconds. Sebastian Koch battling away with Andreas Jellerup and Andrea Remy. That is the battle for P4 between the German, the Dane and the Swiss racer. Omar Ganoum from the UAE up 8 places, now puts in the fastest lap of the race. Omar now currently running in 20th position. 55.536. This battle between Koch and Jellerup is showing no signs of abating at the minute. Actually, it's Andrea Remy that's got through. Just behind them is Nolan Emirate, the young driver from France. Up 4 spots for Morgan Rich's RM Concept team. Ollie Wise, welcome back to the top 10. As he's just got past Lado Guenidze for 9th. Lizzie Mentia now in 11th. And Lizzie doing a very, very good job on her first appearance here at Karting Gang, and also her first appearance in the BNL Karting Series. Nice to catch up with her mum yesterday afternoon, having a good natter, remembering about a particular time, and I think it might have been Rowra, if I remember correctly, where I got the surname completely wrong, and I was told how to repronounce it. But it just goes to show how small the world of karting really, really is. So, minute and a half to go, plus an additional lap. Right, we've had a drama for Yuri Levar. Cameron Nelson up 13 places. Ollie Wise now up to 9th. Warning flags for Andrea Remy. Oh, Lado Kuhanidze has dropped. Yuri Levar and Cameron now. Oh no! That is off of the final corner. That's actually the exit of the dummy grid. What on earth happened there? Levar obviously showing to Cameron Nelson, saying, what were you playing at? And that is not... Well, those two carts are intertwined at the rear front axle on Cameron Nelson's Lando Norris kart, and the front axle on Levar's kart there as well. So yellow flags at Marshall post number 7. So no overtaking permitted on corners 12 and 13 until they get across the start-finish line. And Macaulay Bishop's lead now spans to 1.3 seconds. Tom Lenoir doing everything he can to keep that kart in second. And there you see, well, I think I don't need to really... The pictures tell the story, folks, but I still would need to unpack it because I didn't see what exactly happened until I saw the shot myself. But the timer has hit 0. Macaulay Bishop has not put a foot wrong in this race so far. Next time around we will get the last lap board. However, Ollie Wise is challenging for at least 6th position. Got to be very careful because they're going to go into the yellow flag zone at Marshall Post 7. Last lap now will be underway as Macaulay Bishop starts lap 9 out of 9. And as soon as they get past the start-finish straight, the overtaking can happen again. Ollie Wise has lost the position to Nolan Lemarais. Meantime, Tino Sidler closing in on Tom Lenoir for that 2nd position. But Bishop is away and clear. Not really having to worry about it. They're trying to disentangle at the moment Cameron Nelson's kart from Yuri Levar's, and finally that's happened. Lenoir, purple in sector number 2, as Macaulay Bishop is going to comfortably cruise to victory. As the young man from Hoddesdon, he's not so much of a young man, I've seen that man go up and down the order, and well, Bishop is going to take the race victory by over 2 seconds. Tom Lenoir takes P2, Tino Sidler 3rd, Sebastian Koch, Matthias Jellerup, Jort van Wijk, Nolan Lemarais, Ollie Wise, Andrea Remy and Lizzie Mentia rounding out the top 10. Ryan Bourguignon, Lado Kuhanidze, Dean Pedersen from the United States, ahead of Attila Kalapax with Kunada Nielsen rounding out your top 15. Tino Potier, Lloyd Hare, Omar Ghanum, Ryan Qureshi, both making up double digits worth of places, 10 and 11 apiece. Ahead of Christopher Holst, Anya Levar finishing in 21st, ahead of Dante Sima, Titouan Rocher, Ryan Kairouz, Enzo Zani, Ollie Yonkers, Lola Gervais and Rein van der Meer, the last of the classified finishers across the line. Julie Levar and Cameron Nelson 4 laps from the end, colliding at turn number 12. And Mathis Turlo out with 7 laps to go on lap 3 after contact between him and Ollie Yonkers at turn number 1. Well, the dust has settled here at Karting Genk after what has been a hot, intense, highly charged racing morning here in Limburg. And you can just see there was the moment that Ollie Jonkers decided to throw it up the inside. Too much momentum carried, and Mattis Turlo was out on the spot. But whilst it was all said and done, Macaulay Bishop would pick up the spoils of victory. Tom Lenoir, after his DNF in Heat 1, took second ahead of Tino Sidler from Strawberry Racing, with Sebastian Koch and Matthias Jaderup rounding out the top 5. Jort van Wijk in 6th. But that is the morning wrapped up here at the home of champions, Karting Genk in Belgium. I'm going to go to the lunch break now, folks. So, well, it's an opportunity to rehydrate, refresh ourselves, and get ready for what is going to be a very, very busy afternoon here at Karting Genk. So, we'll see you a little bit later on as our recovery truck is out there recovering karts on circuit, bringing them back so the mechanics can get everything ready and set for this afternoon's action. So we'll see you a little bit later on for the qualifying heats and also our pre-finals live and direct from the home of champions. We'll see you in a little while.